When a dependable nurse failed to show up for her shift, her co-workers immediately knew something wasn't right. They called for help, expecting a routine welfare check. But what officers uncovered inside her small Alabama home would turn into one of the most shocking and bewildering murder cases they had ever handled. Even experienced detectives later admitted they struggled to wrap their minds around what truly happened. This is the tragic case of Tracy Lynn Wildman. Tracy was born on September 29, 1966, in California. When she was 14, her parents divorced, and she moved with her father and older brother to Riverside. There, she made friends easily, especially with her next-door neighbor, Trish, who quickly became like a sister. She also grew close to her cousin, Tanya. The three spent their teenage years roller skating, shopping, and riding horses. Later on, when Trish's mother married Tracy's father, those childhood friends literally became family. After high school, Tracy and Trish went through nursing school together and started their careers side by side. At 25, Tracy married a man named Richard, moved to Arizona, and soon welcomed a daughter named Kristen. But the marriage didn't last, and Tracy raised her daughter alone while moving between states to find better opportunities. Around this time, her family endured a heartbreaking streak of losses. Tracy's brother and 3 half-siblings died suddenly. Her father and stepmother became guardians to the surviving children, and Tracy visited them as often as she could. In 2009, she remarried and moved to Tennessee, but the relationship collapsed within a year. She eventually went to Alabama, where her cousin Tanya helped her land a job at a nursing home. Money was tight. Tracy didn't even have a car yet, relying on buses for transportation, while saving every extra dollar to buy one. The day before, everything fell apart. On October 12, 2010, Tracy, Tanya, and Tanya's boyfriend James picked up their paychecks together. They cashed them, then stopped at a used car lot because Tracy finally had enough money saved to buy a car she'd been eyeing online. She loved the vehicle and planned to return soon. Afterward, James and Tanya dropped her home, the last confirmed sighting of Tracy alive. The next morning, when Tracy didn't show up for her shift the next day, her co-workers grew alarmed. She was new at the job, but already known for her reliability. Her employer contacted her landlord, who lived on the property and had a spare key. After knocking and getting no answer, he let himself in. Inside, he made a horrifying discovery. Tracy was lying on her bedroom floor, and one look told him she was gone. Police arrived immediately and quickly realized the scene was a homicide. Tracy had been found naked with 2 stab wounds in her back, a deep cut across her throat, multiple injuries, and defensive wounds. It looked like she had been brutalized for hours. The medical examiner later confirmed she died from massive blood loss. After a violent sexual assault, detectives collected DNA from her body and blood from around the home, but the lab warned it would take weeks to process everything. There were no signs of forced entry, meaning Tracy either knew her killer or willingly let them inside. A handgun was found near her body, but she had not been shot. Investigators wondered if Tracy had tried to defend herself, or if the killer had used the gun to intimidate her. Detectives questioned her ex-husbands, but both were out of state with solid alibis. They also looked into a man named Richardson, who Tracy had complained about shortly before her death. But Richardson also had an airtight alibi. Then investigators noticed something odd about James, Tanya's boyfriend. He had a deep, fresh cut on his pinky, an injury detectives knew could happen when a knife slips in an attacker's hand. It got stranger. The handgun found next to Tracy's body belonged to him. James denied any involvement and said he and Tanya went straight home after dropping Tracy off. Tanya backed his story. Surveillance footage and witnesses confirmed Tracy had visited the bank and car lot exactly as described, making it seem impossible James had enough time to commit the murder. Detectives were left with nothing but unanswered questions. A break, but not the one police expected. With no solid suspects, no forced entry, and no DNA results yet, the investigation stalled. Out of frustration, the lead detective brought James in for one more round of questioning. When he asked directly whether anything sexual had happened between James and Tracy, James eventually changed his story. He claimed the three of them had gone back to her house for consensual sex. Detectives didn't believe him, but they arrested him anyway based on the changing story and the evidence tying him to the scene. Tanya was also arrested for lying about the alibi. For weeks, detectives waited for DNA. Then, an inmate in the jail contacted police, saying Tanya had confessed to the murder and blamed James. Detectives decided to use this opportunity to pressure James. They read the statement to him, but made it sound as if Tanya herself had provided it and was ready to testify against him. Then they told him that if he confessed and showed remorse, he might avoid prison entirely, a total bluff. And it worked. What James told detectives stunned them. He claimed he and Tanya bonded over drugs and crime shows, especially CSI. After watching an episode where two brothers kidnapped and tortured a woman, they realized they both wanted to act out similar fantasies. They talked about abducting a stranger, but eventually decided Tracy was a safer choice because she trusted Tanya. A few days before the murder, they tried to get inside Tracy's home but didn't succeed. On the day of the killing, James asked to use her bathroom when they brought her home from the car lot. Tracy let him in. While he was inside, Tanya slapped Tracy. Their prearranged signal for James rushed out, attacked Tracy, and knocked her unconscious. They dragged her into the bedroom, undressed her, and waited for her to wake up. Then, at gunpoint, they forced her to obey their commands. Both took turns sexually assaulting her in extreme, brutal ways. Detectives later said the details were some of the most disturbing they had ever heard. When they moved to the final part of their plan, James stabbed Tracy repeatedly in the neck and back, telling her he was sorry and that it wasn't her fault, but that she had to die. Afterward, he and Tanya cleaned up, showered together, and left. They intended to burn the house down, but changed their minds when they saw neighbors outside. Later, back at Tanya's place, they engaged in more intimate acts because they were still excited by what they'd done. Something that chilled investigators' DNA results eventually came back, and both James's and Tanya's DNA were found all over the crime scene and on Tracy's body. James was convicted in 2014 and sentenced to death. His defense argued he had been severely abused as a child, but psychological evaluations showed he fully understood his actions. Tanya took a plea deal in exchange for testifying against James, sparing her from the death penalty. She received life in prison. Tracy's lifelong friend, Trish, who attended every hearing, said she didn't believe Tanya's apology for a second. She thought Tanya had been jealous of Tracy since childhood. In April 2025, James's death sentence was carried out by lethal injection. In his final statement, he said he never spoke Tracy's name for 15 years out of respect. Moments before his execution, he finally said it. "Tracy, forgive me." And with that, the story of Tracy Wildbin's horrifying murder finally closed, though the pain left behind has never faded.